Hello everyone, Ember Power here, and welcome to Top 10 New Brilliant Stars deck lists from Japan. As always, let me know what you think in the comment section, and without further ado, I'll just get straight into it. So, this first list we see is playing Arceus with the Ice Rider. I think this is a really interesting combo for a number of reasons. One is there's a little bit of synergy with Ice Rider's first attack and requiring a double turbo energy, but I think it's mainly partnered up here because Arceus allows you to find 3 energy, that's obviously pretty good. And then Ice Rider could do a Choice Belt because Choice Belt allows you to do 280 with Max King's Lance. So being able to hit 280 means that you can knock out fellow Arceus that the opponent has, as well as being able to hit for weakness on Charizard. And there's a lot of fire types I think will rise up in the next set. So Entei, Charizard, and maybe even Scorch could come back. So I think Ice Rider is definitely in a good position with this new set. After that, the list is pretty straightforward. I mean, we see a 2-2 line of Arceus and Ice Rider. Then we see one Luminion V. If you don't know what Luminion V does, it says when you place Pokemon from your hand onto your bench, you may search your deck for a supporter card. So you can use that to find a Melanie or a boss's order that you need. And then we have the Arceus Starbirth ability that lets you search your deck for any 2 cards once per game. So that will allow you to find, a supporter or an item at any point in time. So my main point is this compared with the Inteleon engine that we see over there means that this deck is really consistent. It also means you have, if you can't find your double turbo energy on your second turn to use Arceus, you can just use his V-Star power and search for it. So I think this is a really consistent list. It's definitely where I'd go if I wanted to play Ice Rider in the new format. I'm not sure yet if you really need Arceus though, and then maybe you're just better off going classic Ice Rider with more disruption based because there'll be more deck slots. And then, you can maybe squeeze in a third choice belt or something because it does seem like a really good card for the deck and will definitely help it out. So the next list is very similar. This list is playing the Manatee though. The Manatee says friendly damage done to your bench Pokemon. So you'll have a lot of protection against stuff like Rapid Strike Urshifu and Jolteon. It's also playing 4 Scoop Up Nets as far as I can tell, so it just has more of an emphasis on the Inteleon engine and being able to recycle, which I think is really important for the deck. So it just allows you to have that bit allows you to dig further, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Allows you to dig further without wasting any of the consistency, so I think it makes sense to lean heavily into Scoop Up Nets in this case. But still playing the Choice Belt, still playing a 2-2 line, so makes roughly the same sense as this deck, I think. Nothing too major. This list is a little bit more unique. I would say this is probably maybe a less consistent deck than a lot of the other Arceus builds we'll look at today, but it's certainly a go-to place if you were maybe thinking of playing Rayquaza in the new set. So Arceus with Fluffy and Rayquaza. Arceus obviously searching your deck for any 3 energy, allowing you to attach them to Rayquaza. You just need a 4th one, and then you can blow up anything. It just makes a lot of sense synergy-wise. I'm not sure how consistent the deck will be, because you have to use the Stormy Rain, the 3 stage 1s is what I'm really trying to say here. Is you need 3 stage 1s, right? You need Fluffy, Arceus, Rayquaza. It's a lot to ask, even with the abilities that they both have that allows them to just quickly accelerate energy and allow you to dig through your deck quickly, but I don't see this deck being particularly good. It seems like an interesting rogue deck, and certainly one you could try out if you're interested in Ray, but I don't think it's particularly great. So Arceus Draladon is this list. Yeah, we're going through all the Arceus variants. And a 3-2 line of Arceus, bit of an increase from the 2-2 lines we've seen previously, and then a 3-3 Draladon line. So one thing in common I think all these decks have is that if you're playing Arceus, you're playing a very low count Pokemon. We don't usually see Crobat and Luminion V in these lists, so I think it makes more sense as well because you're not clogging up your bench with other stuff. And then, as we all know, Draladon has the pulverizing attack for 220 and, has protection from attackers with special energy. And Arceus and Double Turbo look to be really strong in this set, so Draladon's a safe bet. I don't know how I feel about this particular list. I would probably just say Draladon doesn't need Arceus and can just still stick with Zacian and be good. But Starbirth, it might not even be called Starbirth, but the V-Star power that Arceus has is really good for just being able to search out potions and stuff. So, for example, you need a potion, you need a Tool Scrapper, you can just go get them. You need a an escape rope or something, or one of your boss's orders, you can just find it with Arceus, and that's obviously a major selling point with that card. It's not just the energy acceleration, it's the consistency with the ability. So overall, pretty cool deck. Not sure if it's worth it though. Probably just stick with Zacian. Next one is Arceus with Raichu. And I will say this about compared to Rays, you're not running Fire Energy, so I think this list is more consistent. I also am a big fan of Raichu. For those of you who don't know, Raichu V says discard any number of energy attached to your Pokemon, lightning energy, and it does 60 damage for each one. And of course, Arceus, finding 3 of those energies, you have Flaffy to get more. I think this could be a pretty fun, funky rogue deck. I'm not sure how I feel about the consistency. Like, I know I just said it was more consistent than Ray, but I don't know if I'm sold on it. It does seem like a very fun deck, though. It is making use of 2 new choice belts, one of the new stadiums, which I don't get because that stadium actually limits how many bench Pokemon you have as well, so not sure why that's in here. But 2 Ultra Ball, 3 Level Ball, 4 Quick Ball, still putting more emphasis on finding basics, which makes sense. You don't want to be discarding too many resources either with Ultra Ball, so 2 copies makes a lot of sense to me, to be honest. One thing I will say about this list that's also very interesting is it is playing a Zekrom, the one prize Zekrom that does 130. Now with the choice belt, you don't want 60, so 130 plus Polarises is obviously now 160 plus Polarises. That's really good. It also leans quite nicely into the whole thing of, well, I'm going to hit with Arceus first, do like 200 damage, and then maybe, I don't know, you power up a Flaffy. Not a Flaffy, sorry, Zekrom with Flaffy. So after you've hit them for 200, you then go in and hit them for like 130, so it totals up to 330 and you knock out a VMAX. I guess that's what they're going for there. I'm not sure though. It's also just actually a nice counter against Decidueye, which could be pretty good with a set. So yeah, definitely some interesting things to take away from this list. Again, something that I would maybe want to try out. It's certainly for those Pikarom fans. You know, I get a lot of Pikarom vibes off Arceus itself, so I think it's going to be an interesting rogue deck for sure. On to the fire types, we have a Charizard deck. Pretty hyped for this particular deck. I think it's going to be really good. It plays 2 Charizard V Star and 1 Charizard V Max, and then three Charizard V. 2 different Pokemon V. I think one might be Entei V actually, and then the other one is Victini V. 2 Moltres, 2 Crobat, 1 Luminion, 1 Manatee, and then like 4 Quick Ball, 4, maybe not 4 Evolution Incense. I think that could be 1 Evolution Incense, and then like 3 Great Ball. 4 Choice Belt, so big emphasis on Choice Belt. 3 Air Balloon, 1 Pokemon Switch. I think that's it's a Switch, right? 1 Switch or Energy Switch. 4 Research, 3 Marnie, 3 Kindler, I want to say that is, and then 3 Boss's Orders, and then 3 Magma Basin. So, for those of you who don't know, the Magma Basin essentially allows you to attach a Fire Energy from your discard pile to one of your Fire-type Pokemon, and if you do, you have to put 2 damage counters on that guy. And then Charizard V Star does 130 damage, and then it does 100 more if it has any damage counters on it. So for 3 energy as well, so it's pretty easy to try and like turn 2 and use a stadium. I'm not sure if this is like the best way to play this deck, but I still think it's interesting. It's definitely like a good starting place if you're trying to build the Charizard. I'm not sure how I feel about the VMAX though. It seems a bit unnecessary, especially since the attack is very expensive and only does like 300 damage. Which, yeah, I guess with a choice spell, you're doing 330, but you still need like 5 energy to use it. So I'm not sure how I feel about the one-off Charizard VMAX, but I guess it's just here if you want to play it. Victini Charizard is the next variant. Again, we see the 2 Moltres coming in here. We also see 2 Charizard Vs and 3 V Stars. I'm not sure if that's intentional or not. It does seem a little strange to me. Is like, why would you run 3 of the V Stars and only 2 of the basics? I guess if you prize one and you like, it's very important that you always get a 2-2 line, but that still seems really strange to me. Either way, it's a pretty funky list. I like the idea of using Victini, because Victini is not only is a very efficient attacker for 2 energy, so you can always like threaten and attack with Victini. Even if it has no energy attached to it, obviously with Magma Basin, you can just threaten and attack out of nowhere. And then its first attack allows you to obviously charge up energies as well, so seems really solid. Seems like a good combo. Nothing too spectacular in the list. We do see them experimenting with the new Kindler card. I don't know if this stage of Kindler is actually going to be worth it in Fire decks, but it's nice to see some experimentation. 1 Manaphy, definitely need it. and then 2 Moltres as that basic fire type attacker that's going to allow you to hit a lot of one prize archetypes and whatnot, and generally be a big thorn for our opponent. So definitely a cool deck. We have Shadow Rider Whimsicott out here trying to breathe new life into Shadow Rider. This could be, honestly, I think, a tier 2 deck just because of how oppressive Whimsicott is. It does 160 damage with 3 energy, and it locks your opponent out of tool cards and special energy. So if we think about how prominent special energy and tool cards have been, how prominent they will be, with things like Double Turbo, Rapid Strike, Fusion Energy, Single Strike, if they attach them from hand, and then tool cards like Choice Spell, Air Balloon, all the rest of it, Big Charm even. So, you are shutting down a lot of cards with Whimsicott, and you are always getting those 2-hit KOs. And then it's the V-Star power does 60 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon for each energy attached to it. So in theory, if you have a bunch of Shadow Riders, you could just do a random 1-hit KO out of nowhere if you could pull it off. It seems a bit unnecessary, but it is there as an option just to be able to snipe a V at some point in the game if your opponent doesn't have a Manatee. So I think it's pretty cool. Then 1 Luminion V just allows you to find a supporter that you need. 1 Crobat V and then 1 Articuno. This is the same set as Manaphy, so spread attacks maybe not so good, but the Articuno is still a nice way of getting more Psychic Energy into play to make use of Max Geist on Shadow Rider, and it does have a nice attack that does 120 to anything, so maybe you hit something for 120, you soften it up, and then you just KO it with Whimsicott. Could be pretty cool. So overall, I kind of like this list. I don't think it's anything special, but I think it could be pretty good if the right list is made for this, because Whimsicott just seems such a good card not to waste it. So we have 2 rogue decks here just at the end, a Totara Inteleon deck. So for those of you who don't know, Totara is a stage 2 Pokemon that does 50 damage for each of your evolution Pokemon on your bench, I think. It might be in play, but I think it's just limited to the bench. I'll have to check. But yeah, you can do a lot of damage. I don't think it's insane, to be honest. I don't think it's awful, but it doesn't strike me as anything terribly special. The stage 1 is also pretty good though, which does help a lot. Stage 1 allows you to once in your turn search your deck for a grass Pokemon, so you can find more Totara that way. You can find the basics that you need to find. So it's a very pretty I think it'll be consistent, but the damage output is obviously a bit subpar. You do have the Inteleon engine to help with the consistency as well though. And then the support account to me is a little bit strange. We see 4 money, 3 Boss's Order. If you didn't know, Cyrus is a new Boss's Order. 2 Shauna, which is a bit strange, and then 2 Bruno and 1 Clara. I prefer Research in rare candy decks just because it allows you to dig further, but hey ho. 4 Level Ball, 2 Evolution Incense, 2 rare candy, 2 Switch, 2 Turffield. Fairly straightforward list. Pretty easy to play. Probably a cheap deck if you're just wanting to experiment with new cards from the next set coming out. And yeah, that's all I have to say about Totara, really. If you're looking to build this card, I'd suggest trying out this list first, basically. So, onto a very strange rogue pick. I'm not sure of how good this will ever be, but I do like the card a lot, and that is the Lucario. That has a Roaring Resolve style ability. Lets you search your deck for fighting energy and attach it to Lucario, and then its main attack for 2 energy allows you to discard all fighting energy and do 60 more for each one, and then it does 10 damage base. So, you discard 3 energy, you're doing 190, which is really good, and then 2 energy is you're doing 130, so I don't hate this card. I think it's a pretty good one prizer. It might be doing slightly less damage than required to keep up with the format, but either way, I think it's a really fun card. We do also see 3 copies of Galarian Zapdos as an alternate attacker, so accelerating energy and having the option to paralyze. I don't think that's particularly great, but you have to remember you are hitting weakness on stuff like Arceus. Arceus will be very popular with this new set. I don't think Arceus will be a dud. It's just got too much going for it. So going Zapdos hitting 140, Lucario potentially getting 1-hit KOs with Raihan. Yeah, it's a good pick. Surfetched V also coming in there, allowing you to move energy off your Galarian Zapdos and just run in there and 1-hit KO and Arceus. So yeah, I think this could be a pretty funky deck. I also like the addition of Birdkeeper and Rowlet. I think Rowlet's in here purely to snipe Sobbles and stuff because Sobble's just so popular. Arangur allows you to get a little bit more consistency. out of the deck. It's an overall, I think it's a pretty cool list. I'm not sure, like, as I say before, like, will it ever be actually that good? But I still think it's a pretty cool deck, and definitely one worth trying out. I will be like experimenting with Lucario on the channel and stuff. So yeah, pretty cool deck. Thanks for watching. Bit of a quick video. I usually try and drag these out for longer, but I didn't really want to spend too much time on each deck. So like, let me know what you think down below. What's like your most anticipated deck, and yeah, hopefully see you all next time. Thank you for watching.